I am so excited to be here with everybody this morning. We have a very special topic. We're going to be talking about kids and babies in America. So please say hello, tell me where you're from in the chat, drop a question, and our guests would love to answer your questions. For most of you that are regulars on the show, you're probably thinking this face looks a little bit familiar, but not our regular host, Tanya Friedman. For those of you who might be wondering, my maiden name is actually Danielle Friedman. So I am Tanya's daughter. So I'm excited to be hosting this special show with everybody. And once again, please say hi in the chat and let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you have any questions. We would love to answer. A little bit of background on why this show is so exciting for me. So I actually moved to America when I was 8 from South Africa. My mom, she often talks about, if you're a regular on the show, she often talks about how she moved with 2 young kids to America. That was me and my sister. We were 8 and 4. So we know very well about the long journey to America, all about that experience. And then it's really come full circle for me. I actually have a 6-month-old daughter. Her name is Emma, and she is the first US born citizen in my family. So I have a very unique perspective for this show, and I'm excited to share some tips and some thoughts with everybody. It looks like we have Jeanette, who is watching from the Philippines. Milan is from the Philippines. Alden from Fort Myers. So we're covering all over the world. Hello to everybody. Hello, hello. So please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Also, make sure to apply to our website, kineticsusa.com/apply. And our recruiters are waiting and they are ready to help you. So without further ado, we have some very exciting guests for you this morning. Let's bring in our guests. Hello, ladies. So nice to see you all this morning. Thank you all for joining me. Do you all want to go around and just say,
good morning, Danielle.
Good morning. Do you all want to go around and maybe just say your name, where you are, and tell us a little bit about why you're joining this special kids and baby show? Do you want to start, Holly?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Holly Field, and I am with AMN International O'Grady Payton. I am a clinician support specialist 3, but my background that I feel contributes to this forum is I was a community liaison for over 3 years. So I have welcomed over probably 200 nurses and their families and children to the United States. And as a current CSS, as we call it, I currently support them while they're 2 years on assignment, adjusting and acclimating to the US. It's a very rewarding job to work with all you nurses, and I wish you the best as you make your American journey.
Wow, over 200 nurses, Holly? That's amazing.
Yes.
That's a lot of nurses and a lot more people and families, because 200 nurses plus their kids, their spouses, that's amazing. We're excited to hear all your perspective on this very interesting topic. Do you want to go next, Mary Joy?
Yeah, okay. Hi. Yeah.
Good
Hi,
morning.
I'm Mary Joy. I'm one of the nurses that Kinetics brought here in the US. I've been a nurse for 12 years already, so all of my practices is in the Philippines. And now I'm practicing here in Florida, USA, specifically here in Jacksonville. And I'm glad to share my experience migrating here in the US, having an infant. Like we when we moved here, my daughter is just 6 years old, and I'm pregnant. So I want to share my experience and any tips that you can that I can give to you just to have a good transition here in the US.
Okay, amazing, Mary Joy. And how far along are you?
Currently I'm like 6 months now here in the US. Forgive me, I came from my night shift. That's why I'm kind of
Oh no, that's okay.
having
That's
a
okay.
freeze
You
brain
said
right now.
that's okay. You said so you have a 1-year-old and you're currently pregnant, right?
No, I already gave birth.
Oh, you gave birth. Okay. When did
Yes,
you give birth?
April.
So
This
you have a
April.
2-month-old.
Yes. So I have
So
a year old and a 2 months old baby.
very exciting. Wow, very, very exciting. Okay, well, we're going to hear all about that. Do you want to go next, Jess?
Oh, yes. Hello. Good morning, everyone. And yeah, my name is Maria Sousa, and you can call me Jess for short. I am a registered nurse here in Texas. And actually, before I was in the Middle East, specifically in Qatar. And like all of you, I feel privileged and I'm happy to share my just a few already experiences because we just arrived here like the last week of March here in Texas as an immigrant, and also at the same time as a mother. I am actually working in pediatric emergency setting, pediatric ER, and um, I am already a mother of two and an expectant mother. Yeah, my baby bump is here.
Oh, love
Yeah,
it.
I'm 37 weeks or more than like that, and actually I'm good to pop out. My OB says, actually we are literally waiting for you to pop out anytime
Oh,
soon.
my goodness.
Yeah, because and I always have this history of early delivery or more than the expected date.
Oh, my goodness. So we're very lucky to have you on the show because you are 38 weeks. And
Almost, yeah.
you could be giving birth any day. Wow. Well, that is so exciting. Well, congrats to you, Mary Joy, on your 2-month-old, and to you, Jess, on making it to 38 weeks. We'll see what happens, but we're excited that we have you here this morning. All right. So I'm just looking in the chat. It looks like we have Jewel saying hello from the UK. Jalix saying hello from the Philippines. Alyssa saying hello from San Diego, but she's originally from Australia via the UK. Hello to everybody who's watching. This is the Kinetics Onwards and Upwards show, and we are talking about kids and babies. So I know for a lot of our nurses, you are moving with your families, and we are going to talk all about that today. So very excited to have my guests, Holly, Jess, and Mary Joy. Thank you for joining me this morning. So before we get started talking about having kids in the US, I think let's talk a little bit about the journey to come here. So let's pull up our success path. I know for a lot of our nurses, there's a lot of amazing information out there on how to get to America. We live in the internet age, and it's great to have all of these resources, but sometimes it can feel a little bit overwhelming. So what Kinetics did is we created our success path for nurses. And this is something that you can always reference anytime you're wondering, how do I get there? What's my plan? You can find this on our website, kineticsusa.com, and it runs through each step that an international nurse needs to take to get to America. So this is something that both Mary Joy and Jess have followed because they are now prospering here. So let's go back to that success path and just walk through a couple of the steps. So the first step for all international nurses to come to America is to take the NCLEX. So that's going to be your number one step. The second step, once you've passed that NCLEX, you are going to prepare for the interview. So our Kinetics recruiters are standing by, they're waiting for you to apply, and they are going to work with you to help you figure out what's going to be your best match in the US. So we're going to hear from Mary Joy and Jess why they decided to go to Florida and to Texas. But for a lot of nurses, maybe you have family, maybe you want to experience a white Christmas for the first time. Whatever it may be, our recruiters will work with you to figure out what's going to be your best placement in the US. Once you do your interview and hopefully get your offer, you're going to move to step 3, which is the visa framework. This is where we will help you collect all of your documents, get ready to apply for your green card. Step 4 is licensing and credentialing. We'll help you get your license endorsement, your visa screen certificate, all of these documents that you need in order to get your green card. Once you get to step 5, that's when your green card has been approved and you're preparing to go to the US. You're doing your happy dance because you got your green card. You're finally on your way after a long time of studying and preparing. And step 6 is the arrival sequence. So this is where you are touching down in the US. You finally reached your American dream, and Kinetics is going to be here to support you with orientation, training. We have a concierge service, someone to pick you up at the airport. And step 7 is enjoy and prosper. And that is what we want for all of our nurses. And that is what is happening now for Mary Joy and Jess. So thank you once again for being here today. We're excited to hear all about your experience and to hear from Holly, who has helped over 200 nurses. That is amazing. Transition to when they came to the US. So very exciting stuff. So let's get started. So Mary Joy, can you maybe tell us why you decided to immigrate to the US as a registered nurse?
You know, in the Philippines, it's really hard to work and to have savings, and so like other reasons, US is the land of opportunity. So they say that if you work hard, you gotta see that you really work hard. So of course, I wanna be I wanna have I want my dream to come true, my US dream. So I pursue and decided to apply Kinetics to help me make this dream come true. And now luckily, unfortunately, I'm having it now. Though you have a lot of challenges that we'll be facing, but in God's grace, you'll be having it. You know, just have patience and trust the process. So that's it.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's good advice. I think for, especially I know even for my parents, when we moved to the US from South Africa, we knew that it was going to be very challenging. But like you said, America is the land of opportunity. And it sounds like you had the same feeling that my parents did. They wanted to give us more opportunity. They wanted us to live the American dream, even if they knew it was going to be a hard transition. So thank
Right.
you for sharing, Mary Joy. Jess, I saw you nodding your head in agreement. Why did you decide to come to the US as an RN?
Of course, yeah, just like the other reason, but that for them it is also my reason. But honestly speaking, my American dream coming to the US is actually like almost forgotten because yeah, I graduated like more than a decade ago, and then I landed on a good job, actually a good paying job back in the Middle East where we have allowances and it's tax free. We have some perks that we're enjoying. Plus, my husband really had a good, stable job over there. But the thing here is, when the retrogression is like almost lifted up and the visa now became open out to the Philippines. So I really just try my luck. Oh, I forgot to say that when COVID hits all of us here, this is really my turning point that, hey, like I really need to do something or, to try a better opportunity than what I have right now. And so when I passed the NCLEX, I believe that this is now the starting process. Like this is now already the good vibe that I will really have. I will really get into the US. So that's it. And then it follows as I really focus on the plan that is already before there, and and at least all my it is a family decision and they have accepted it, and so I came to we really come up to the US.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Well, you have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, is that right? So it really had to be a family decision. It was something you had to talk about with your kids. It was going to be a big life change. What did you say to your kids when you were, deciding we're going to move to the US, and what was their reaction like?
Yeah, at first, actually, these kids like doesn't like they don't care that much in the first place. But when I told already, like we are nearing the process of getting the visa and everything, then we already have, like I told, we're gonna leave the house soon, we're selling everything. Now they started to search where are we going, they started to google it, and then they really ask, are there good people in Texas, something like that. Are we
Mhm.
will be able to make friends over there, and
Mhm.
will they enjoy? So the things that they are really asking, because this 10-year-old and these kids, they will really ask, and
Mhm.
I think they really have to be involved with this from the transitioning with all of this one, so they will feel that it's not just they will feel they belong to the family, but they really belong
Mhm.
in the decision making and in the process
Mhm.
of our journey of moving, because moving to a different state, settling them down, is really a big a big decision for a family.
Definitely, definitely. I think in some ways it's easier when you have younger kids, such as Mary Joy. She had a 1-year-old. That 1-year-old kind of just goes along. But I
Yeah.
think it can be a little bit harder when you have older kids. I remember when my parents told us, I was 8 at the time. So similar to your kids, Jess. And I remember thinking, I already have friends here. My family's here. Why would I leave my home country to move there? And I had similar questions. How am I going to make friends? And what's it going to be like? What did you say to your kids when they asked you those difficult questions? How did you reassure them?
I just told them in our language, that anyway, this is, I think, the God's will for us, because everything like went smoothly from all the process. And I told them that anyway, mom and dad will always be here. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, we will make sure that you are in a good place, that you will enjoy the things there, you will have a good social life, you're gonna meet new people. But of course, we will make sure that you will not be hurt. Of course, they're really not afraid of the bullying, because when back in our life in the Middle East, really they really have a good friends, and like everything in the life there is like almost not really a paradise, but it's like almost perfect, because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't experience some bullying with the kids and other children. They're really enjoying, really. So I thought it will be a different set of people, different phrases probably, and different personalities, but this will help you, and we as your parents will always be there to
Mm-hmm.
guide you all throughout the process.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So, a lot of reassurance that you, as their parents, will always be there for them. I think that's a beautiful way to go about it. And it reminds me of what my parents said to me when we were moving. Holly, what do you see is the biggest challenge for parents when they're preparing to move to the US, when they're talking to their kids?
So,
And
so
what can
I
they do to
happen
make it
to be
easier
a
for themselves?
That's okay. I happen to be a military spouse as well, so I've been experienced moving children throughout the United States. I was unfortunate enough that I did not get to locate overseas with the military, but one thing that I've learned as a parent with children that have been moved is your children are resilient and adaptable. I will tell you, with the families that I've relocated through O'Grady Payton, and I keep in touch with my nurses, that often they'll tell me the children adapt the quickest and assimilate quickly and meet friends. And if you think about it, it's because they're young and adaptable. They are asking questions. And they will have their natural abilities to adapt. But there are, tips for age specific. For example, like your babies and toddlers, keep everything simple. I would say keep to the routine. One thing that I've found and observed that was very important is that the parents bring familiar toys and food. I would say the biggest thing that I see sometimes with the children is the cuisine. They actually find that very challenging sometimes because when you move to a new country, there's new tastes, new cuisines, things taste different. So some of that familiarity helps. With preschoolers, they're going to be asking a lot of questions. They're verbal. So keep them informed. And, when you get into United States, take them around, show them new places. Like this is your neighborhood, this is your school, make them feel a part of it. Also, as you're unloading your luggage and your boxes that you may have shipped, remember they love to play with those things. Let them play and help you set up the household to make them feel part of the process. And then if they're meeting new friends, you can teach them an acronym that's called SEE, which is when you meet a new person, smile, make eye contact, and be open to meeting the new person. And then what I would say is once you get to the older children that they're coming from the fact that they've had established friendships back home, I would say anywhere from the preteens to teenagers, this is the most challenging for most parents. You're dealing with, children that are growing, hormones, predolescence, and change is sometimes hard, especially in friendships. And so, ensure them, let them be able to stay and communicate with friends back home. I would say that's very important to give them some stability, but also to help them integrate by being a mentor yourself, by you getting out and meeting new people, meeting your colleagues, and then helping them find sports and activities and hobbies that they enjoyed back home here in the US.
Okay, great. Those are some really, really good tips for what the nurses can do when they arrive with their kids in the US and how they can make them feel more comfortable and, have a little slice of home, so to speak. Do you have any suggestions on resources or research that the nurses can do before they come to the US to better prepare to make that an easier transition? Go ahead.
So I'm a big proponent that um, I've met a lot of nurses that come to United States with expectations based on what they've heard and what they've seen through media. So one of the guides that I highly encourage my nurses to review is done by the USCIS, which is basically a document for immigrants to read over that kind of gives you a good insight to American culture, customs, and experience. The three top major areas that I would highly encourage anyone migrating to the United States to look into is transportation and childcare and our medical health insurance, because I found those are the three biggest aspects that are the concerned and the most challenging for our nurses coming. So, for example, if you're migrating to the United States and you've picked the state of Texas, what I would recommend is that you definitely look at the city that you're relocating into, find out what their public transportation is and relative to both your children's school, if you're bringing children, as well as your work. A lot of people have an idea of the United States that we are like New York City and it's readily buses and trains. That is definitely not in the case in other aspects of areas of the United States where the way the United States is so vast as a country and how smaller cities developed, public transportation is not as readily. I've often had nurses say to me, I don't see anybody walk here. The mode of transportation in the United States, the main mode is individual car. So be sure to look at, once again, your city's public transportation that's usually available on their website. Also, if you're going to become a US driver, first thing you should be doing is looking at the state of residence. And we either have what's called a DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, or a Department of Transportation to find out what the expectations are for you to get a US driver's license, because transportation is key to getting settled when you first move here. So that's very helpful. In regards to the children, I highly also recommend that with your residence that you've selected, your address, you can go to the school district website of your city to find out which school that your children are assigned to. So one of the things that I've observed with nurses coming from other countries is you often don't realize that our school assignment is based on your residence if you're in public education schools. We have different types of schools. There's public, which anyone can go to. There's private, which you pay for and select, and there's homeschooling. But focusing on public schools, the one thing that I will highlight, any information that you can bring from your children's previous school from your country of origin is very important. Transcripts, any awards. When you get to the high school level, grades 10, 11, 9, 10, 11, and 12, what I would highly encourage, what I've had guidance counselors tell me, is if your child's school can give you like a document of like what their courses entailed, that's very helpful for those high schooler children, because they will meet with a counselor and the counselor will review their information to correctly assign them to the grade that they will be here in the US and make sure that they're in line with the state's high school graduation. The other is vaccinations. Make sure you have vaccinations. And please note that what you may have done at the embassy for vaccinations, you might still need your child to do additional vaccinations based on the school district's vaccination policy. And just remember, in the United States, if you need those vaccinations, we have public health departments that often offer those vaccinations for free or for minimum cost based on your situation. I hope that's not too much information.
Okay, that was a lot of information, but a lot of good information. So thank you for sharing, Holly. We're going to unpack a little bit of what you talked about, especially the school stuff. So I know that's very interesting for a lot of our nurses in a few minutes. But I just wanted to give Jess and Mary Joy an opportunity to share if either of you did any research before. I know Holly gave some very good ideas on what you can do before to prepare. Jess, I see you nodding your head. Did you do any research before you came that you shared with your kids?
Yeah, actually, because my kids are like homeschooling back in Qatar, so the transition here is a little bit different for them because from when the COVID starts, decided to homeschool them until they will be exposed to a different new environment. There is now really a physical classroom, but anyway, I'm grateful here because the school accepted them like in the start of April, where the school was about to finish by May. And I'm glad that they were able to adapt on it. And yeah, she's correct that you really have to search in your city which is the designated school district for you. And so what Miss Holly has stated that, yeah, you really need to have updated vaccines. So good thing that all my kids are updated on their immunization. Plus, since because they're born outside and raised outside the U.S., it is really required. It's a must. This PPD, the test for tuberculosis. So it is offered there in one of the county here, like in the health center here. And then after that, it is negative. And the next day, yeah, they were able to enter the school, and I really appreciate it because like everything's free, even the school bus is free. So with that, I have also researched through the use of the media and social media because I'm not advocating for Lefora, but actually this is actually a good platform, a good media for all the nurses who's coming to US because it is really like based on their experiences. Although of course we also have different experiences in whichever state you are, but at least somehow it will gonna give us an idea of what are we expecting. So it's really a lot of researches. You're gonna use the YouTube, the Google, and everything, and it's really important the personal experiences from the people who are in that place. You really have to connect with because it will really help you a lot.
That's good advice. Connecting with the people who are in the place that you're going. So you guys are in Texas. You're in Temple, Texas, right, Jess?
Yes.
How's your experience been there? What's it like living in Temple, Texas?
Oh yeah, that one I didn't just Google, but I do Google Street and Google Map everything like to see what's in Texas because it's not really It's not really a busy city like in Dallas or in Houston. It's I can say it is like pretty much a laid back city where it's peaceful, as I should say, not really with much of the theme parks or any tourist spot, but at least it's really a simple, I can say a simple, peaceful life here if you want to have like that. And anyway, but most of our needs are so accessible here. There are, Walmart, there's some stores that are available. And the people here are nice, really like, they will really say hi and hello to you. And I think this is still safe here. I mean, as compared to, I don't know, to other cities or whatsoever, I haven't really personally encountered a racist or something like a crime already. I haven't
Mhm.
seen that so far.
Well, please God, you won't see that at all while you're here. But that sounds lovely. A nice, peaceful city. I know I'm located in Los Angeles, California, where it's a beautiful city, but it's definitely very busy and very trafficy at times. But pros and cons to all the different cities. Like we talked about, the US is a massive country, and there are a lot of different options and cities and different vibes all over the country. Mary Joy, do you want to tell us a little bit about what it's like to live in Jacksonville, Florida?
Yeah. Jacksonville is a big city. I think this is the big city here in the U.S. based on by land. So like from end to end, you need to travel an hour or an hour and a half, depending on the time. There's a lot of Filipinos also here in Jacksonville, and we have Jollibee. So that's also a thing here.
Jollibee.
Yeah, actually, that's also the reason why I choose
A little
Jacksonville.
taste of home.
Yeah, so something about a little taste of the Philippines way
Mhm.
away from home, so you're not feeling homesick. What else?
What's your
Jacksonville.
favorite thing to do in Jacksonville? What's your favorite thing to do with your child?
Oh, sometimes we go to the beach. Like it's 30 minutes away, a drive from our home, from where we're living. And what else? It's just like sometimes, it's really hard to drive when it's raining. Like, I'm sorry, because I'm in a car right now and it's raining. So
Oh
that's
my
all the
goodness.
only thing that I can share. Yeah, right. But the weather also, it's so unpredictable here,
Mhm.
because when it rains, it really pours and so strong.
Mhm.
So, but when the sun is out, it's really hot.
Mm.
So like the other day we experienced 98 degrees. So it's really hot, and the humidity, though it's hot in the Philippines, the difference is the humidity.
Ah, okay. So it feels a
Yeah,
little bit like the Philippines with the
but
hot weather but
yes,
yeah, and you have a nice Filipino community there, right?
yeah, there's a lot of Filipino here. So, and also a lot of Asian stores that
Mm,
you, so craving is just a way that you can have. So it's a nice community here.
that's great.
We can't deny that there's a place that not so good, but
Mhm.
just that, I mean, that's normal. It's just how you need to be, how safe you are. I mean, go to the
Mhm.
safe place, okay,
Mhm.
so you'll not be bothered, or
Mhm.
it's be a smart wise in choosing
Mhm.
the place that you want to live, because everywhere there's always a negative thing. It's just how you handle it. It's how
Of
you choose
course.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, so I'm from South Africa, as I mentioned before, and it can be very dangerous there. And I know when we moved to San Diego in California, we were very excited about not having any dangers and not having to deal with anything. And we moved to this new country, and there's still, crime everywhere. It's just like
Yeah.
you said, it's how you handle it. And you just have to be safe and aware of your surroundings.
Yeah,
I
right.
see you shaking your head in agreement, Holly. Do you have any thoughts on that? Anything to share on just preparing for anything, that might be surprising for families? Oh, go
So
ahead, Holly.
I think it's all about perspective, right? I think it's all perspective. Our society right now globally is very media and social media focused. And as we know, a lot of negativity is always gets the first and foremost attention. So, I've traveled overseas, I've been into countries, and just like my nurses coming here, they're like, I'm scared of the US. I'm like, well, I was scared in other countries that I visited too. So, it is that general knowledge that good and bad things happen. And then you have to be aware of your situations, not make yourself a victim, and practice good practices. That, you can't live in fear, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So educate yourself, make sure you're aware of your resources. Like, for example, when my nurses arrived here in the US, the first thing I taught them, and one thing that you might not know that I'll share here is like, if you have an emergency in the United States, we have a number, it's 911. You would call that number if you needed the police, the fire, or the EMS. So taking those steps to make yourself feel secure will help you fight maybe some of that anxiety that you may initially have when you're here and you're not sure. And as these other ladies mentioned, lean into your new friends and your peers that are here. Ask them, hey, is this a good part of town? Do I need to be aware of things? Make yourself cognizant of that type of scenarios to help you feel more comfortable.
Very, very good advice from Holly. So switching gears a little bit, Jess, I wanted to know from you, what was the most surprising thing about moving here? What's been the hardest part? What's been the easiest part? Any insight you can share with our nurses?
Oh, actually, I would start first with the hardest part is um, maybe actually the hardest is like physical for me because I'm the journey, the travel, like it's more than 24 hours. That's the thing because I'm pregnant, so that is the thing that's the hardest that I dealt with, my whole family dealt with because we haven't traveled that much long. And but actually the easiest is everything like with our agency where we're thankful everything is like being given to us because there are options where we are really being taught about this is the first thing that you have to do first. You need to get the mobile, you need to get to have the house to open the bank. So I would say it is not that very smooth, but at least somehow it is not that very hard for everyone to come here because our OBS is helping us along the way. And yeah, we got our house, we got everything we need. And so for the because the house that we're living is also near to the basic commodities and the especially the Walmart and everything. So it's good. So I cannot say that it's really a hard thing for us or something, but I should say that it's challenging and that at least the agency that I have with you, this Kinetics, I'm really thankful because they're really helping us. They have provided we, what we need, in which any immigrant could really be asking for. And so, like, yeah, our family were able to adopt, and my kids here are. I didn't say that. I cannot see. I mean, I didn't feel that they they felt a hardship or anything, but um, we're typically okay when we move here.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that, Jess. Sounds like for you, being set up when you came here made it a lot easier. Not just arriving, stepping off the plane, and feeling like, where do I go now? So you have a Kinetics onboarding specialist who's helped you set you up with housing and transportation and schooling. And I think maybe the big takeaway is just when you arrive, if you're able to, having some setup already done can really go a long way to make that transition a little bit easier. And here at Kinetics, we have an onboarding person, like you mentioned, who will help you throughout that whole transition. So that makes a very, very big difference. I know when I moved to the US with my family, my dad actually came a couple of weeks before me and my mom and my sister, and he rented the apartment and he was able to set us up, got us registered at school. And I know that made it a lot easier when we arrived a couple of weeks later. Yep, there's me and my family. This is in Universal Studios in Los Angeles.
Awesome.
So that's Minnie Danielle and my mom, Tanya Friedman, who I think a lot of people watching this show know. And so that's about 2 hours away from where we lived in San Diego. And that was one of our first family outings. You know, I think as an 8-year-old kid who watched a lot of American movies, I was very excited to go to Universal Studios. You know, something we talked about now is doing research ahead of time. And luckily, we live in a day and age where the internet is available. You know, when I moved 23 years ago, there wasn't really the internet. What I knew is what I knew from movies. You know, I couldn't look up and Google San Diego, California. What does it look like? So I actually had put together some tips just based on my own experience that can help a family when they move. So if we can pull up that graphic, the tips on moving to the US. And I had just a couple of ideas to share. I know it's something that Holly touched upon, Jess and Mary Joy, everybody shared their experiences, but some tips as a kid who moved to the US with my parents. Number one, before your journey, show your children pictures of where they will be moving. The city, the house, landmarks. Google Street View is great for this. So, you know, now you can Google San Diego, California. What does it look like? Temple, Texas. What does it look like? Where am I going to be staying? And I think showing your kids exactly where they're going to be going kind of alleviates a little bit of the anxiety. My second tip was during your travel, take a favorite toy or possession while making the trip over to give your children comfort. So Holly also had the same tip. I remember when I moved with my family, I was 8 and my sister was 4. And I think she carried about 17 stuffed bears on our long ride from South Africa over to San Diego. And that made her feel comforted and a little bit more at home. So that was a nice memory for me. I remember lugging 17 little teddy bears through the airport. The third tip was utilize language apps on your smartphone to assist with translating and learning a new language. So when I moved to San Diego is very close to the border next to Mexico. And my best friend, she was a Spanish speaker from Mexico. How we became best friends when I spoke English and she spoke Spanish, that's a different story. But we often talk about how it would have been so much easier for her if she moved now, where she could have used Duolingo before coming to the US to learn some English words and just better prepare. So that was another tip. And then the last tip, upon arrival, so Holly also spoke about this, find local food shops and restaurants to give your children a taste of home. So I know Mary Joy went to Jollibee. When I moved, my parents took us to a South African chocolate store and they bought us each a bunch of South African chocolate. And that made us have a little taste of home. So those were just a couple of tips based on my experience. So let's switch gears and talk a little bit about schooling. I know you kind of gave a little bit of an overview, Holly, but can you just give a little bit of an overview again? What are the nurses' options and how do they go about registering their kids for school once they're in the US?
Yes. So going back to what's offered in the US, as I kind of briefly mentioned earlier, in the United States, it's your choice as a parent to how your children are taught. So there are public schools, which that is, as one of the ladies mentioned, is free to you, although you do pay it in taxes. But in that essence, you put your kids in school. The custom here in the United States is that 5 to 13 are compulsory in school. We do actually have regulations and some policies outlined of what school-age children need to go in school. The one thing I will point out about kindergartner age children that is often a surprise to nurses when they relocate to the United States. The age in most states is 5 years old. But what you may not realize and what you'll need to find out from your direct school is if they have a birth date cutoff. So, for example, I'm in the state of North Carolina. If a nurse would relocate to North Carolina with a 5-year-old, that 5-year-old would have to be 5 before August 1st in order to enroll in kindergarten. Now, if the child was not 5, what would happen is that child would be in preschool for one more year before allowing to be in kindergarten. So that's something to point out. We also have private schools. Private schools are not tax-based. They're a private organization. They can be faith-based or not. In that essence, you would be responsible for typically an interview, an application, and tuition fees. They tend to be more expensive than your public school option. And then third, in the United States, homeschooling is here. Each state has homeschooling guidelines that you would need to look into and follow the policy so your children can go through the system in order to graduate from either the elementary, high school, and to go into the university system. Going back to school enrollment, I just can't point out enough is that preparation is key, as one of the ladies mentioned, to have a smooth enrollment process. Typically, most districts, the bigger districts in the United States, are doing online enrollment. Some are still, you have to go to the school and enroll. So the key to this, as we've all mentioned here, is thank goodness for the internet. You can search your school district, you can find your school, and usually they will tell you from there if you'll go online or if you need to call the school. But the important documents will be your children's passport, the birth certificate, the vaccination record, once again, the transcripts. And then some school districts, just to make every nurse aware of this as well, is that, for example, in the state of North Carolina, it does not matter if a child is coming from another state in the United States or out of a country. The state of North Carolina requires a health assessment. So do be prepared for that. Make sure that you understand that if your school district has to have a health assessment done prior to enrollment. They typically have the form available, and you can either go to a clinic or a health department to obtain a doctor's signature and have the form completed for enrollment. And once again, to ease the children in, to ease you in, reach out to your local school. Meet your principal, meet the guidance counselors, meet the teachers, be open and engaging, because that will help your children smoothly transition to their school enrollment.
That was some great information, Holly. Thank you for sharing. And for any of our nurses who are watching and might be feeling like, okay, this is great stuff, but how am I going to remember this? Don't worry. You are going to have somebody on the Kinetics AMN International team who's going to help you through that transition, through that journey, and will help you figure out all of the schooling options and what's going to be the right choice for you. Jess, do you want to tell us a little bit about what it was like on your kids' first day of school? I know it sounds like they only went for about a month or two before the school year was over, but what was that first day like?
It is because like they are accepted, they are currently in grade 4 and grade 3, so they didn't finish. Basically, they didn't finish the from the from what they have back in Qatar. So I'm glad that they're accepted what grade they're in, and then actually they're very happy. They are very excited because I told you gonna meet new friends, and this one is really a physical one because actually my kids are telling, "Mom, we really wanted to have a classroom like there's a real teacher, and then that they could really interact lively, not like in the Zoom or in any online like this because they tend to lose their attention span. They tend to do something else. But at least, of course, they are really socials, and humans are really socials. They really want to talk and to have, play, and they're very happy. Everything is new. Like my children are telling, "Mom, it's our first time to play a soccer because they don't know how to play this kind, the football." And then they have their specific like Chromebook or with their own computer that they can use with. And then pretty much they are really not really overwhelmed, but at least um, they are happy that they are learning in a different way.
I love that. And I think we actually have some pictures that you sent in of your kids. I would love to see a couple of those pulled up, but there we go. Look how beautiful you and your family. Is this
Oh,
all?
those one, yeah, the one that with the Jollibee, that's who we travel to Plano in search for Jollibee.
How
So yeah, because
far is
Filipinos
Plano
love.
from where you live?
Yeah, and that one down the Jollibee, I think we traveled to Austin. It is just like it's already a planned um, visit there, and right to that one in the bridge, that is in Houston in Memorial Park. So you see, and that up to that bridge is here in Temple. So you see, like we traveled different places.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
there's one. Yeah, this
Look
is
at
in Space
that.
Cavern. Yeah, here in the nearest town here in Temple, that is in Georgetown, that is in the inside the cave. So all of us, actually, it is really my first time to get into that, and we really enjoy. It's really literally cold down there, and we enjoy the space cavern. And at least this is the what that I wanted to bring to my kids, that we get to enjoy the places, the natural resources, that and at least this is our bonding moment, because this age up to when they get older, you are really trying to this is the formative years for the kids. You're really trying to bond to them more, and
Mhm.
that they're gonna bring that culture as they grow up, because yeah, basically here in the United States, like some are really scared because maybe like a culturalization, or they might adopt a different culture from what we have, and that's something that the parents are really afraid of. But if you're gonna really involve your kids in everything, like even though just shopping to the Walmart, doing grocery errands, and planning out for a picnic just in your community park, it is really good. It's really helpful, because at least the bond for the family you are preserving, because as you are starting a new life here, that is really important, to get your kids into that situation. And at least the important thing is that the bond, a strong band for a family, that will really stays there.
Well, I think their smiling faces in all of those pictures really say it all. It looks like they were having a lot of fun traveling around Texas and exploring their new state. So it looks like that bond was very strong. And that's very, very cool to see all of those different travels and a trip to Jollibee to get a little taste of home. I love that. I also saw your cute little bumps. So I'm sure that those are some fairly recent pictures. Oh, there we go. Look at Jess. Look at those beautiful pictures. Oh my gosh. So, can you tell us a little bit about what your prenatal care has been like in the US?
Yeah, here, because Baylor Scott and White already has a good plan, like with the day one of your hiring is also the day where your insurance will kick in. So, like, you just have to schedule to call the available OBs are there, and then you're gonna have the schedule. And it's because I already have my previous reports, my ultrasound, my blood test ready, and then they just have to look into it. And yeah, it's just like now I'm being scheduled like almost every week for the OB checkup, and I believe it's like smooth for me. I didn't have that much problem getting the for the checkup and the insurance. And then I'm just really waiting for this baby bump to come out.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad it's been really smooth for you and really easy. Oh, it looks like maybe we lost Mary Joy. I think I had some pictures I wanted to share of her and her family. We'll see if she rejoins. But thank you for sharing that, Jess. I'm so glad it's been an easy ride so far, and crossing fingers for you that it's an easy delivery. Although you've already had two, so you've already been there and done that. You already know what the drill is.
No,
So,
actually, like
oh, go ahead.
it is like actually a start, because you imagine it's a long gap.
That's true. That's
Oh.
true.
That is really really challenging here.
That's true. It's
Hey,
been a
how
little
it is like to be a
while.
mom again.
That's true. But, I think that it's like riding a bike. Your body probably remembers. Okay. Well, I know we're almost out of time. I just wanted to see, Holly, if you had any final advice. I know we talked about a lot of great tips. If you had any final, just one more piece of advice for our nurses, and the same question to you, Jess, after Holly goes. And it's okay if you don't have. I know we gave a lot of advice.
Yeah. I would say the big advice that I always share with my nurses when they first get here, because I think that is the most challenging aspect of the journey that you have embarked on. Two pieces. One, always reflect on your reasoning of why you decided to pursue this journey and hold fast to that. And second of all, acknowledge that this is a major life event that you've decided to embark and learn new things. And just remember, back when you were a child, sometimes learning was fun and sometimes it was challenging. But remember, it never stays in one or the other, it continually flows and fluctuates. So keep that in mind and always ask questions, and you will have a successful journey. And I wish you the very best.
Thank you, Holly. That was very beautifully said. Love that. Jess, any final tidbit of advice for our nurses who are going to be coming?
Yes, I couldn't agree more with what Miss Holly says. But for me, my takeaway is like, I know, bringing your children, bringing your whole family into US is really scary, because I know lots of people like they wanted to be settled first alone, like the applicant first, then the family will follow. But come to think of it, having an LDR or a long distance relationship is it's really like a roller coaster. It is more than what you are expecting. Like it is like worse or something. But why do we want to settle in the US? It's because to have a brighter future for our family. So might as well, you really have to involve your children, your whole family at the very beginning, and then it is and anyway, they will not be they will not stay forever, like 1 or 2 years old. They will grow up, and if the child care is really an issue or something, like with who will take care of the baby, I believe that you're gonna learn the process, and then you just really have to do more of googling, more of researching what are the resources that are available in your community. And you really have to face the challenge, because the reason why we want to settle in the US is because of our family. So that's the most important thing. We really have to bring them close to us, and do everything that if you want to preserve the culture, your close family ties, then do everything that you can do for it to be maintained. And yeah, that's always it is really a leap of faith. Coming to US is more than a big decision. It's a leap of faith, but anyway, it is for your family, it is for your own good. So just make sure that you are prepared for the pros and the cons, and making a decision as a whole. It's will really help us to get along with different kind of situations that we might meet here.
Very, very beautifully said. I agree. It is a leap of faith. It's a big move. But, I think as someone who's now on the other side, I moved here when I was 8. I went to school here. I ended up going to law school at UCLA and becoming a lawyer. I ended up joining my mom at Kinetics. I think my parents are probably watching. So, hi, Mom and Dad. I am extremely thankful to them for the sacrifices that they made so that I could grow up here and have more opportunity than I would have had in my home country. And now here I am. I had my daughter, who is the first US citizen in our family. Yep, there she is, my little Emma Pie. So it really has come full circle for me and my family. And you know, I remember moving when I was 8, just like your kids, Jess. And it's definitely it's a challenge. I'm not gonna lie, it's a challenge. But like you said, if the family bands together, leans on your community, and really just has faith that it will all be okay. It really will all be okay. It really does work out in the end. It really does work out for the better. And I think we've given some really amazing tips for any new families that are coming to the US for this scary but very exciting journey. So thank you, Holly, Jess, Mary Joy, for being a part of the show today. It was a very special show for me to host, and I had such fun getting to know all of you and hearing all of your tips. So thank you so much for your time and for sharing your insights with all of our nurses all over the US. I know we didn't get to the questions, but I saw that a lot of people were watching, and I'm sure really benefited from hearing about your stories. So thank you all very much for joining me on this Friday morning. And now we're going to close up the show, and we're going to talk a little bit about some Kinetics initiatives and some, there we go, the Kinetics initiatives. So for any of our nurses who have been watching and you're thinking, I don't know, you know, if this might be the right time, I'm here to tell you this is the right time. There is no time like the present. With Kinetics, these are some of our initiatives that we have going on. So we have a free English scholarship for any of our RNs who join Kinetics. So if you haven't taken your English exam yet, you can get a free English scholarship. We offer $1,000 referral fee. So refer any of your friends with NCLEX. You can do that at our website. We also have a podcast, Nursing in America. Check out all of our episodes on there. We are direct hire. We're actually voted the #1 direct hire company by the nurses themselves on the International Nurse Forums. We have our weekly Onwards and Upwards live show. So I was excited to host today, and hopefully you will see me again in the future for more shows. We also have our Kinetics College, which is more live shows about education. And we're also hiring for Allied. So if you are a medical lab technologist or medical lab technician, please apply on our website, kineticsusa.com/apply, and we would be happy to help you. We also have a few Onwards and Upwards shows coming up. Next week, we have Stateside Southern Living. So if you're considering living in the South, like Mary Joy in Jacksonville, Florida, please join us to learn all about Southern Living. July 7th, we have an immigration Q&A. We'll have our legal experts on. I know everybody's going to want to know what's their retrogression update, so please feel free to join into that. July 14th, we have a special show, Direct Hire versus Staffing. We're going to talk all about the pros and cons of going direct hire or going staffing with O'Grady Payton, who is our sister staffing company at AMN. On July 21st, we're doing a client showcase for the state of Arizona. July 28th, an equality, diversity, and inclusion show. And then on July 11th, our LaFora talk show, which is once a month. The topic is going to be working alongside preceptors. And then we also have our Kinetics College. So these are our education shows hosted at 6 a.m. Pacific time every Monday with our partners Aspire, Swoosh, iPass, and Niners. So feel free to check those out Monday at 6 a.m. Pacific. So thank you to Holly and Jess for joining me today. And thank you to all of our nurses worldwide for watching us. I hope you found this to be an informative and helpful show. And as my mom always says, onwards and upwards. So onwards and upwards to everybody, and just a brighter future and a happy day to everybody watching. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.